Hey, Chet, let's just jump right in and let's go Phillies. We got Bob Brookover waiting to get us up to date on what's happening with the Phils. And so let's welcome Bob back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Bob, how are you doing today?
Hey, Bill, how's it going?
Doing great.
Hey, Bob.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. The Phillies are about to get things going down in Florida. First question is, well, about you. What's the situation with reporters right now? Given the still with us pandemic, what is the plan for you and other reporters and columnists who would normally spend much of February and March down in Clearwater? What's the situation this year?
Well, so far the Inquirer has decided we're not sending anybody. The only two reporters I know of, but we have sent a photographer down there. Jose Santos is down there right now for us, and we're going to send another photographer in another week, which I'd like to be down there, and I think we'd all like to be down there, but we do what we're told. So
yeah.
The two writers I think that are down there right now are Todd Zalecki from MLB and Matt Yo from The Athletic. They're the only ones I think that are down there. I'm not sure if anybody else is.
Well, I can tell you, Bob, because I'm in Lakeland right now. It's warm here, and I think you would probably be enjoying it.
I like warm. I've always been a big fan of warm. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about 2 weeks ago and thinking, between covering the Phillies for 30-something years, and in that interim, there was a 7-year Eagles period where you would at least go to the Super Bowl almost always somewhere warm, although there was a Detroit and Minnesota mixed in there. And going to owners' meetings, which are always like in West Palm Beach or Dana Point, California. I've gone to a warm spot every winter since like 1989. So I am definitely missing that right now.
Well, Bob, I got to ask you, one of the key things for the Phillies this year will be the performance of the bullpen. They were historically bad last year. They've made lots of additions this year, including Archie Bradley. How much better will the bullpen be, do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any guarantee that the bullpen will be better, but it's going to be different. I mean, other than Hector Neris, really. And, there's some leftovers. Connor Brogdon, who I think has earned a real shot to be part of that bullpen the way he pitched last September. But Archie Bradley is going to be a huge key to that. They brought in veterans, a lot of veterans who have had success in the past, but not necessarily recent past. So if those guys can do the job, they'll be all right. I think they tried to bring in strength in numbers. They brought in a lot of guys they're going to look at who are on minor league contracts trying to prove they still belong in the big leagues. And they got to hope that some of them pan out. They did something similar last year, but I think they've brought in better bodies this year than they did a year ago. It didn't pan out, obviously, last year. And then they had a bullpen 2.0 with guys who you thought, Brandon Workman and David Phelps. You would think those guys had success, but they came here and it was like, I think Joe Girardi's famous quote of the offseason was, we could have told them what was coming and we could have done better than we did.
Hey, Bob, a side note, I think you need a beard like Archie Bradley. What do you think?
Yeah, I would need 1,000 years to grow that.
Well, hey, Bob, if you look at the starting 8, assuming we pretty much know who that's going to be, except a couple question marks, and it looks like Kingery's going to be the utility guy, the outside guy. Alec Baum is different this year than last. Is this team good enough? Even if the bullpen is better, is this team good enough with this year? It's the same talent.
I've gotten a lot of emails asking that similar question to that recently. And to me, the offense was not broke. It was the number 5 offense in runs scored last year. It was a very good offense. There's no DH this year, but that's true for, I think, three of the 5 teams in the top 5, if not 4, were National League teams. So they're all going to be without that DH this year. I think this is a very good offense. This is a team capable. I think it was on pace to hit like 212 home runs last year, which would have been the most since the 2009 team. If it had been a full season, they might have had 212 home runs. If you look at this team right now, I would almost be willing to bet put the over under at 200 home runs for this team because you look at it. Even let's start left field. We go McCutcheon. He had 10 home runs. A lot of people didn't think he had a very good season, but he hit 10 home runs in 60 games. Put that into 162 games. What's that come out to? You got Bryce Harper. He was on pace to hit 38 home runs, 36 home runs last year. And, that's pretty much the standard number for him. You go to first base, Hoskins seemed to find his swing before he got hurt late last season. He was on pace to hit 30 home runs. Didi Gregorius on pace to hit 30 home runs or 27 home runs. Vermuto on pace to hit 30 home runs. Alec Boehm hit 4, but I think if I had to put it over under on Alec Boehm right now, I'd put it at 20 home runs. And Gene Segura is capable of hitting 10 to 15 for sure. That's a lot of home runs from guys. And then you brought in a bench guy, Brad Miller, who's capable of hitting them as well. I mean, he had 12 with the Phillies 2 years ago in a very limited role.
Bob, I think Bryce Harper is going to have an awesome year. I just have a hunch. And I got to ask you, we saw the pictures of him yesterday. What's more impressive, that Fanatic bat or the Clearwater shirt that he's wearing?
I like the Clearwater shirt.
That's awesome.
That's tribute to Philadelphia, I think.
I was thinking the most impressive thing to me were them guns coming out of the side of them shirt sleeves. Man, he's
ready to go. Yep.
He's always been pretty cut, and he's coming to camp looking good.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, what did you think when it all sorted out? They lost their free agents. They got them all back. They've upgraded the bullpen, we hope. Starting pitching, still, we'll get a little more into that. But what do you think so far of the job from Dombrowski and in the new front office we're looking at? Pretty good.
I think for that we go back to Bryce Harper, who on his first day of camp said, I think his words represented all of Philadelphia and all Phillies fans when he said, I was pretty nervous there when I was hearing we weren't going to spend any money. We had these free agents gone. And, by the time the offseason was over, it had been a pretty productive offseason. I mean, there's some guys who you're taking flyers on, but just getting Remuto and Gregorius back was just so huge, going back to the home run thing and the offense not being broke. So don't try to fix it, keep it together. I think that was really important for this team. We'll see. Do I have a lot of trust in Dave Dombrowski? Yeah, I think he's got a really good track record. And what he convinced John Middleton to do after it didn't look like they were going to spend, I think this is still true, although after the Mets signed Walker the other day, I'm not sure. But I still think it's true that the Phillies have spent the third most amount of money of any team in baseball on free agency. That's what a lot of it was to bring them back their own, but it's still – we weren't expecting that when the offseason began and early, and even the first month or month and a half into the offseason.
Well, Bob, one of the guys they're taking a flyer on is a former Philly who's back as a non-roster invitee, and that's, of course, Odubel Herrera. Is he going to get a legitimate shot? Can he possibly be brought back? I heard you on with Mike Missinelli. Mike gave you a hard time about the whole situation, but do you think Herrera's going to get a fair shot to make the team?
I think he has to. I mean, you don't bring him into camp if you're not going to give him a fair shot. Now, does that necessarily mean he's going to win it out of the gate, or does he have to do more? Does he have to go to AAA and prove himself there? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I would say that the three other guys in camp as center field candidates, and Quinn Hazley and Kingery have a better shot at it out of the gate. But, I think Odubel Herrera's got to prove in spring training, and if he doesn't make the team in spring training, go to AAA and prove it. But you know how the game works. Nobody stays healthy. No team stays healthy all year long. And at some point, if he's proving he's a good citizen and proving he can play again, he's going to get that shot, I think. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the starting pitching. I think we know 1 and 2 are probably pretty solid. Pavetta looks like he's penciled in. What's that?
He's gone.
Not Pavetta, Eflin. I'm sorry. Eflin in the 3 spot, and Velasquez in the 4 slot. Those guys scare me.
Well, I don't think you can pencil in Velasquez in 4 right now. I think the top 3 are set with Nola, Wheeler, and Eflin, and I like that top 3. Even when you match it up against other teams in the National League East, which has some really good pitching, with probably the best rotation on paper being the Nats, but all of a sudden you have some questions about the Nats' health with Strasburg, and Max Scherzer's still a stud, but he wasn't quite the same stud last year that he had been the year before. So I'm not, and he's got some age on him, and Philadelphia experienced what age can do in a hurry with the aces. One year you had 4 aces, and 2 years later you had Cole Hamels, and none of those aces left. So those guys can get old quick. But I like the top 3, and I think Eflin is ready to have a breakout year. Now 4 and 5 is going to, and Joe Girardi said the other day he's planning on going with a 5-man rotation. Chase Anderson is going to be one of them probably, and Matt Moore. I think those guys have the inside track, and I think I like that they brought in those 2, and they're making Spencer Howard have to prove he belongs in that rotation. He's going to have to really show in spring training to be a part of that rotation. And if he doesn't, he's probably going to – I think he's going to have to go to AAA and prove it there out of the gate. And again, the same thing as Odubel Rare. You're going to get a chance, but you got to prove it. And I'm glad they brought in veteran guys to challenge him a little bit. Is it the best rotation ever? No. But I think this rotation – and Velasquez is a guy who also personally, I'd like to see him put him in the bullpen and just say, you know what, Vince, you're going to help us out of the bullpen. Have him in that relief mindset right out of the gate. That's what I'd like to see him do. I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know if that's how it'll shake out. But I think they have a little bit of depth. Certainly, I like the situation in the rotation better than I did at the start of last season.
You mentioned Spencer Howard. Is it very likely then that he's going to start the season in the bullpen, or might they send him back down to AAA?
We asked Joe Girardi about that today, and he said all possibilities are on the table because he said our objective is to win, and if we have to be creative by putting him in the bullpen, we will do that. If he earns a spot in the rotation, he can do that, and certainly the AAA possibility is on the table too.
You mentioned Connor Brogdon earlier. I love that arm that we saw in September. Any chance of him becoming a starter rather than being a setup guy? I don't think he's probably ready for a closer job, but he's got a great arm to be sitting out there as a setup guy, I think.
Yeah, I think he's pegged for the bullpen right now. That certainly nothing wrong with being a helpful arm out of the bullpen after what we saw last season. You hope among the leftovers that him and like Jojo Romero showed early in the first half of the shortened season, barely a half if you can call it a half. The first month, Jojo Romero kind of showed, and then he kind of faded in the second part of the season. But they need some of those young arms to be guys they can count on too, because they need youth in that pen.
Well, Bob, we're out of time already. We do appreciate you joining us, and it's going to be an interesting season, to say the least. We'll have you on again this summer, and hopefully the Phillies will be in first place.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Bob. Appreciate you.
Take care.